So guys, I honestly did not even want to go live tonight, but I was watching this video about homeowners associations, and it just reminded me of like Joe Stalin or some like communist freaking nonsense. And so I got these cool videos that I'm going to show you. And then also I wanted to update you. I spoke with Chili DeCastro today. And hey, Jody, good seeing you. I spoke with Chili DeCastro today, and he'd done this video about, I don't know, some kind of weird video. I'm going to show you guys in a minute. I'm literally unable to click on his video from my iPhone and open it. And he'd even posted something about how YouTube is now censoring people more. And of course, we know that Zuck and Google and all those dudes, they really pushed hard to get rid of TikTok. And we know that YouTube is now pushing the vertical feed to try and, attract TikTok members, but they use their friends in Congress and the Senate with all their money to make sure they can get rid of TikTok, because TikTok obviously doesn't feed the administrative state. They allow free speech and free thought, which is exactly what the UK government hates more than anything. They don't want their people to have free speech or free thought, and they'll throw you in prison if you complain about all the politicians being paid off by, like, Arab oil money, for example, who are flooding the country with people who are completely opposed to the British way of life. And the Brits are like, why are you letting these people in our country? We're not happy about this. And it kind of reminds me of homeowners associations and how, the highest bidder can get away with whatever they want. So we're going to go ahead and play this for you, this video that I found about homeowners associations really quick, and give an opportunity for the chat to sort of fill up. And hopefully Chili will join me. Who knows with this guy? I know he's super busy, but I'm hoping he'll join. And as far as, Kinetic Custom says that Musk just purchased YouTube. Now, if that's true, Kinetic Customs, that means that basically people who believe in liberty, freedom, and free speech will now have de facto control of the internet. Even though Obama sold out American rights to own the internet to the Europeans, there's still a way we might be able to get it back. I don't know if a lot of you guys remember this, but Obama literally turned over American control of the internet to Europe. And most people don't know that, but we can discuss that in a later video. I don't understand it. I just know that academics, for some reason, really support communism, and they think that if we can just take away privacy rights and personal freedom from regular people, that somehow that's going to make the world a better place. Whereas my father always taught me, if you work really hard and you pray for your neighbors and you help your neighbors, that'll help the world become a better place. You tell me what you think is better. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for the chat to fill up, because we're at 19 right now, I'm going to play this HOA video for you, and then you'll get an idea of where I'm coming from. Because when I watched this, I was just like crapping my pants. Like, are you kidding me? How could this be the United States?
Where we slice through the best Reddit tales just for you. Let's dive right into the first story. The first one is the title story, and it starts like this. I never thought I'd be staring down the barrel of a police officer's gun on my own front lawn, all because of a ridiculous misunderstanding with a homeowners association I didn't even belong to. But there I was, heart pounding, hands raised, trying to explain that this was all just one big mistake. Let me back up a bit. My name's Mike Thompson, and I'd recently moved into a beautiful old farmhouse on the outskirts of town. It was my dream home, a place with character, history, and most importantly, no nosy neighbors telling me what color to paint my shutters or how tall my grass could grow. The property sat on 5 acres of land, bordered on one side by a newer housing development called Maple Grove Estates. When I bought the place, my realtor had mentioned that the developer had tried to buy my land a few years back, hoping to expand their cookie-cutter community. The previous owner had refused, and I was grateful for that. I loved the idea of having my own little oasis, free from the constraints of suburban living. For the first few months, everything was perfect. I spent my weekends fixing up the old barn, planting a vegetable garden, and generally enjoying the peace and quiet of country life. But then came the letter that would turn my tranquil existence upside down. It arrived on a Tuesday, official-looking and ominous. The return address read Maple Grove Estates Homeowners Association. Puzzled, I tore it open and began to read. Dear resident, it has come to our attention that your property is in violation of several Maple Grove Estates Homeowners Association bylaws, specifically, unapproved exterior paint color, Section 3.2 unmowed lawn exceeding 4 inches in height. Section 5.1 unauthorized structures, barn, visible from the street. Section 7.4 livestock on residential property. Section 8.2. You have 30 days from the receipt of this notice to remedy these violations or face fines of $100 per day per violation. Failure to comply may result in legal action. Sincerely, Karen Bradshaw, President, Maple Grove Estates Homeowners Association. I stared at the letter in disbelief, then burst out laughing. Clearly, there had been some kind of mistake. My property wasn't part of Maple Grove Estates. It predated the development by at least a century. I figured a quick phone call would clear everything up. Boy, was I wrong? The next day, I called the number listed on the letter. A clipped, efficient voice answered, Maple Grove Estates Homeowners Association. This is Karen speaking. Hi Karen, this is Mike Thompson. I received a letter about some supposed violations, but there's been a misunderstanding. My property isn't part of your home.
Couple of tiles missing. Couple of tiles missing up on the roof. You got him! Your turn! And you're being I'm Officer Jeff.
I'm Officer Steve.
And we are the HOA police.
These rules are here. We're here to enforce them, and it is to keep a good, clean neighborhood. Look at this. That's a good 6 ounces at least.
Yeah, that's Black Lab.
Black Lab. Look at this. Look at this. We got a bad piece of fruit here or something. We're gonna have to definitely talk to some of the neighbors, find out who last used this barbecue grill.
Damn it.
This is off-centered.
We got our first 1070, Steve.
Let's roll.
Now, really quick, I don't know how many of you guys served in the Marine Corps, but joining an HOA is like serving under a sergeant major who was an admin his whole life and had a Bronze Star with no V on it. That's basically what an HOA is. And it kind of reminds me of the United Kingdom, where they're replacing their own population with a bunch of terrorists. So I wanted you guys to watch this because basically, if you have a bunch of oil money, you can destroy a country. And so it makes sense you could do the same thing with an HOA. Let's watch.
Let's go.
And we see these people every day, checking their mail, walking their dogs, whatever. I don't know if you're supposed to be here or not.
Yeah, so you could be the president of the United States.
Like to see your papers, please.
Papers? What the hell are you talking about, papers?
Talking about don't be a smartass.
Immigration papers.
Immigration papers? I've known you guys for 3 years. I've lived next door to both of you for 3 years. Talking about immigration papers.
Yeah.
Where were you before the 3 years?
Yeah. And you know, when we're out there, I just think to myself, WWJD, what would Joe Arpaio do? If you really do have your papers, it should be just easy, right? It should just show us the
paper. Why don't you guys show me your papers?
I'm obviously from
I know,
here.
right?
I don't care what the papers say. I just want to see them. I'm just asking for the papers.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah,
fair,
here's my
right?
papers.
I mean, that's fair. He's just asking for the papers, right? I mean, there's no big deal there, right, guys? I mean, he just wants his. They want papers, right? I mean, if you're an illegal alien, you don't have to show your papers. But if you're an American citizen, they're going to ask you questions like, "Hey, you don't agree with what opening the southern border and flooding the country with rapists and child molesters and killers from third world countries? Wait a minute, where
are your papers, Mav? Where are they? Oh, you don't have any papers?
So a lot of you guys don't know that Adolf Hitler, his favorite SS unit was the SS Handschar. And that was a Muslim SS unit. And Hitler and Himmler were so jealous of the Muslims because they were submissive and they would submit to the state as long as the state made sure to oppress everyone who was not a Muslim. And so it kind of reminds me of HOAs in a way. But we're going to get into it a little bit more, and we're going to go ahead and let you guys watch the HOA police, and then you can look at how similar they are to the UK government and to the single-party state of California.
That girl today at the pool.
Excuse me, ma'am. Where's your adult supervision?
I don't need no adult supervision.
You're in violation here. not safe for a child to be around pool water.
Yeah, you really shouldn't be around here all by yourself, ma'am.
Stop being jerk.
Yeah, but it's safe to have a wide open southern border and just to allow people to flood into our country, right? Makes sense. Makes perfectly good sense, right? At least if you're in the UK or the UK police of chief of police, right?
Listen, you don't got to be a little bitch about it.
I can't imagine what it would be like having to do this job alone.
Being good friends, that's what this is all about. It gets us through it. And that
Has made all the difference.
yeah.
All right. So really quick, guys, I've got my buddy over here, Kinetic Customs and Racing, and he's saying that Elon Musk just bought YouTube. And I have a hard time buying that. But I do know that Larry Page and all of his communist, anti-American friends who hate freedom and love little kids went ahead and sold Google right before they got nailed with a bunch of antitrust lawsuits. So they made the right move and made billions. But in the meantime, Google's left with in control of basically a bunch of Marxist communists who hate this country, in my opinion. And that's why I have a really hard time believing Kinetic Customs that smashed that algorithm, that Elon Musk was able to buy YouTube, because Google, they support, like Act Blue and all the fake donations they get, but you know what I mean? Like all that nonsense where they're able to money launder. And of course, we know the FBI doesn't do anything because they're run by the same party. So a lot of Americans are really, really upset about what's going on. And it's just really fun to be able to share stuff with you guys, because the lamestream press won't share any of the stuff that I'm sharing with you guys tonight. And it's just hilarious how homeowners associations are basically, in my opinion, no different than the European Union or the pre-party or the single party state of California. It's basically, you got a bunch of cat people, a bunch of Karens, right? No kids, nothing, it's too much time on their hands, who have basically taken over the government. And they want to decide what's best for you. But you dads and moms who have children, you're not too happy about that. But you have to make a choice. Do you want to live in a homeowners association, or do you want to move somewhere where you have freedom? And the problem is that when you invite people into your country who hate you and hate your way of life, you're kind of forced to live in a homeowners association. So, and then you're going to be, it's just like this repetitive nonsense where you just can't escape the lack of freedom. And so I'm hoping you guys will have some fun today with me, because I covered a lot of really cool stuff. But the homeowners association one is sort of like the grand culmination of what's happened to the United States, in particular, the sovereign states of America. And BZ Watchdog, good seeing you, brother. Kinetic Customs just told me straight up that Elon Musk just bought YouTube. And if that happened, that would probably destroy the youth vote, because we know that the left relies on Google and YouTube to brainwash children into believing, that men are women and women are men, or whatever else they're trying to do to try to confuse little children. But most people realize that that's nonsense and that's not scientific. And if it is scientific, because they call it scientific, it's a false religion. It's demonic. It's ridiculous. And so Kinetic Customs, I did not see the link, my friend, but I just got to tell you guys, I've been getting a lot of blowback from people saying, Mike, you can't be so outspoken. You're going to get in trouble. And I'm like, look, man, my dad told me to be defined, and people will either hate you or love you. But if you're a weakling piece of garbage, they will not respect you. And so my dad said, just stand up for what you believe in, and people will at least respect you. So even though I'm probably going to be canceled and I'm going to lose my channel at some point, at least I'm standing up for what I believe in. And what is that? That is freedom. I stand for freedom. If you want to come into my country and force some nonsense Sharia law in my country like you guys are doing in England, you're going to have some problems. It's not going to happen with me or my family. We believe in freedom. We don't believe that anyone should submit to anyone, period. And if you're part of a religion that believes in submission, we don't want to have anything to do with that. So leave us alone and stop trying to force it on me and my kids, and stop trying to pay politicians off with your oil money to force that on me and my family. Now, the next thing we're going to get into is the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy. So I'm going to show you, I got my buddy Q over here. And I know that Q is, a lot of you think he's like a right-wing white supremacist, because that's what you call anyone who doesn't support the deep state, right? If you don't believe in the deep state, the destruction of children, the destruction of genitalia, the destruction of your boobs or whatever, then that automatically makes you the enemy of the deep state or the administrative state. And so Q, obviously a white supremacist. See my friend Q over here? Obviously he's a white supremacist, right, guys? So let's hear what he has to say, and then we'll get into it. It's only a couple of minutes.
Back to Truthville, USA. I am Q. So last week I talked to you guys about the Biden and Harris administration using lawfare, using our law enforcement system, a system that was supposed to be meant to protect Americans, using that to go after their political opponents. Now, for those of you guys that pay attention to this stuff, you guys are not surprised by this at all, but the who in it is actually kind of surprising. So if you guys watched last week, you guys saw that Tulsi Gabbard has been the latest victim.
And Tulsi Gabbard, by the way, is a traditional conservative Democrat, like I was, a conservative Democrat, someone who pledged allegiance to the flag, who believes in the cultural values of America, similar to John F. Kennedy. Just so you guys understand, Democrat, but she was in the military, automatically makes her an enemy of most of the Democrat Party. Let's keep listening.
This was brought to our attention by some whistleblowers who said that Tulsi Gabbard was actually on a quiet sky and
by the way, I represent several whistleblowers from a plethora of administrative agencies, from the CHP, CIA, FBI, and more. And guess what, guys? There's no record of me communicating with any of my clients. And that's why it's easy for me to communicate with my clients without them getting arrested. But most lawyers who communicate using their cell phones and their emails, see how long they keep their law license if they're representing someone who goes against the World Economic Forum or Klaus Schwab or Gavin Newsom. See how long that lasts. Let's keep on listening.
DNC. She was told by Nancy Pelosi and others that she had signed her own death warrant as a political figure. And the idea that she would then leave and walk across the aisle and embrace people like Donald Trump was absolutely 100% not acceptable. Now, I'm not asking you guys to accept Tulsi Gabbard. I know there's a
yeah, and I'm not asking you guys to accept Donald Trump. As you guys know, I worshipped my father, and he didn't like Trump. Even though my father, as do I, supported his policies, we think the guy's an asshole. But his policies are 1 billion times better than anything Barack Obama, Camel Toe Harris, or this other, the demented guy, I can't even remember his name, could ever have offered this country. Let's keep listening.
A bunch of people on here that'll say, Q, she's not a real conservative. She's a Trojan horse. I don't care. I don't care if she's a Trojan horse or not. Please hear me out on this one. Americans should not be put on watch lists, on terror watch lists, simply for exercising their First Amendment. I'm not really caring about her politics. If I was going to defend her based on her politics, I would be really no better than Barack Obama or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Nancy Pelosi. We don't.
Can you believe what this white supremacist is saying? I mean, clearly he's a white supremacist because he's not singing the public school teacher Democrat Party line. So obviously he's a white supremacist. Give me a bunch of twos if you don't agree that he's a white supremacist.
Punish people based on who they vote for. We punish people based on doing wrong and evil and bad things, right? So the idea that she has spoken out against the political establishment and now as a result has been classified a domestic terrorist. This is someone who's a 21-year veteran.
Okay, so this is what I was getting to. So we know that starting on March 4th, the Biden FBI declared anyone who owns a Bible, who shops at Dick's Sporting Goods or Cabela's, who believes in legal immigration, anybody who believes in that is automatically a potential domestic violent extremist. And if you want to accuse me of disinfo or whatever, just let me know, because I have more than enough evidence as a lawyer who represents many whistleblowers. I'm not going to give you the total number because I'm sick of being surveilled by people in black SUVs following me around town. All right. Just letting you know. The bottom line is anybody who supports the United States, anybody who supports traditional values is automatically, since Obama, targeted as a potential domestic violent extremist. Now let's listen to what my white supremacist friend has to say about this, because clearly he's a white supremacist because he doesn't support Kamala Harris. Let's go.
Of the United States Army. She's an Army veteran. She is still serving in the military. And so the idea that she would be put on this list is absolutely insane. So I'm thankful that she is actually now taking legal action against the Biden and Harris administration because she wants answers and she wants off this list. And I think more people need to take legal action against these people. Take it all the way up to the Supreme Court.
So let me share another little tidbit with you guys. If you have ever done a tweet or a post that goes against the Democrat Party, automatically you're going to be added to a domestic violent extremist list. Every time I travel at the airport, and I have a whistleblower who I represent who's verified this with me from the FBI, that if you don't support the deep state or the administrative state, they automatically put you on a list of potential domestic violent extremists. So anytime that I travel, my kids are automatically flagged and they have to go through a secondary search. And on your ticket, there's a bunch of S's. I'm going to show you the last ticket that we had to verify this, but they're going to change it, obviously, because now they know that we know what they're up to. But all these people at Homeland Security, and when you travel to a foreign country, you're automatically targeted as a domestic violent extremist if you don't agree with Keir Starmer, whatever this guy is, this commie over in the United Kingdom, or if you don't agree with like the Biden, Harris, or whatever it is, administration, you're automatically added to this list. If you purchased a firearm, if you've ever shopped at Dick's Sporting Goods or Cabela's, you're automatically added to this list. And so for me, being a civil libertarian, that's terrifying to me, because I believe that in a constitutional republic, the government has no right to even know what you're up to. And the problem is they're flooding the country with people who are hostile to us. So these people who come into the country who are hostile to us, when they commit a violent act, that gives them an opportunity to pass a law that restricts your freedom, AKA FISA, right? Wide open borders, terrorist attack guaranteed to happen. What's going to happen as soon as that attack happens? Your rights and your freedom will be taken away. Guaranteed. That's exactly what's going to happen to you. And so all you people who think that you're doing the right thing by voting for these people who want to strip you of your freedom by telling you that everyone who disagrees with them is a racist, you need to start thinking. You better start thinking like they told me in the Marine Corps. You better start freaking thinking there. Yo, hurry up. So now, by the way, Kinetic Customs is saying that if you support the Gadsden flag, the Betsy Ross flag, or whatever, you're going to be targeted by your government. And what it really sounds like, it sounds like the United Kingdom because they invited all of these people that are hostile to their culture and their way of life with a lot of, oil money from Saudi Arabia, right? Paying off all their politicians, right? And now they're trying to do the same thing to us over here. But Americans, as a general rule, don't really appreciate that. We'll see what happens with the squad. We know that Ilhan Omar, a devout anti-American communist piece of garbage, somehow got elected. So we'll see what happens with that one. But I don't know about Project 2025. JB, somebody go ahead and delete this radical anti-American communist from the chat, please. We have plenty of people with wrenches who can do that. Now, Molly says we have no rights. They are just perceived. Well, I would say that all of our rights come from an all-powerful creator, and that's what John Locke discussed, and that is what our founding fathers based our Bill of Rights on, is that our rights come from the universe, and they can't be taken away by the government. So, and of course, you can get rid of the MRDLRU commie as well. Anyways, so we know I will rent you Kinetic. The problem is I'm on StreamYard right now, and it's really difficult for me to do the disconnects. But it's hilarious to see all the anti-American communists jump onto my chats because I've really been blowing up. I've been blowing up big time, man. Like I've gotten over 300 new subscribers from the United Kingdom, and they're just like, right on, Mike, right on. We didn't know you lived in Scotland, but we could tell you were probably like an old school Brit with an American accent. So that really motivated me. So I wanted to come on today and talk to you about what's going on, the great replacement that's been happening all across the United Kingdom. And then let's get back into Q and what he has to say about Tulsi Gabbard, because she is, like me, a Republican who was once a Democrat. I'm actually not even a Republican. I'm a libertarian, but I am a constitutional Republican. In other words, I support the concept of a constitutional republic where the rights of the individual matter more than the rights of the group. Because anytime you have the rights of the group, you're going to have a lot of jealous people who don't want to work, who just want to stand around with their hand out and follow the Barack Obama philosophy of everyone is evil and racist unless they give you free stuff. And that's not what made America a great place. So, and I try to go live all the time. I'm just going to answer the question let me see here. Mr. Master Marksman. And I try to go live every day. Now, my problem is, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am a practicing attorney. And I have a very mean and angry woman who expects me to work 24/7 to look after her and the kids. And that's my job. But I get kind of bored, and I am a patriot and I love my country. So I worked out a deal with her that if I can somehow generate a couple super chats every night, she'll let me keep doing it. So far, it's been abysmal. We have, I think I made like $10 last night in super chats. But anyway, she's gone right now. So I snuck it to do the show with you guys. But I want you to hear what this guy has to say, because like Mayor Sam Yorty, I don't know if you guys remember Sam Yorty, mayor of Los Angeles. He said, the Democratic Party left me. I didn't leave the Democrat Party. And I got to tell you guys, like my family, all of us, hardcore Democrats for years. But after being a Marine and seeing what Obama and all his predecessors did to our administrative agencies, their hatred of this country, their hatred of individual rights and freedom, it completely changed the way I think. I just don't understand why they hate America. So why do people that run the colleges and all the administrative agencies hate America? It doesn't make any sense. So being a Marine, naturally, I'm repulsed by people like that. So I had no choice but to leave the party. I have a lot of Jewish friends. I'm not going to lie, a lot of Jewish friends. And they still vote Democrat. I'm asking them, why would you do that when your own party is flooding the country with people that hate you? It makes no sense. and they have no logical explanation or justification other than, like my grandmother used to say. My grandmother would always say, well, Gunnar voted Democrat, so that's what I'm supposed to do. And that was it. And that's what they say. But everything's changed. And I want you to hear what this guy has to say so you'll understand.
But these people need to be dealt with for their treason. Let me know what you guys think about this. Do you guys think that that she is dealing with it the right way? Do you guys feel that she is deserving of this type of treatment? Do you think that she maybe did something wrong that we don't know about? I'm curious you guys' thoughts on this. Comment below. I'll see you guys next time. Be blessed.
Yeah, so that's my homie Q. He's a good guy. And now let's get into what's going on in California, Communist-fornia. So this is what Gavin Newsom is all about. He's basically, use George Soros money to basically allow criminals to do whatever the hell they want, because the prosecutors are all paid off by this hardcore commie, George Soros, and his son's going to be taking over pretty soon. And basically all these they just, I don't understand. It's like the politics of destruction. And I just don't get it. I mean, George Soros was a Hungarian Jew, and he helped the Nazi SS round up his fellow Jews so he could stay alive. And then he said, no big deal, but he was later interviewed. He doesn't think anything of it. Why on earth would you even let anybody like that invest in your company? Think about that. And his son says he's even going to be worse than his dad. So think about that. Now let's watch what George Soros prosecutors have to offer California.
Fence. The thieves made a lot of noise, just like the house alarm, but it didn't deter them. After much effort, they finally managed to load the safe. After hearing a noise in a neighbor's house, this man discovered 3 thieves had broken into a home in Beverly Hills and stole an entire safe. To get it to their car, they had to dismantle part of the fence. The thieves made a lot of noise, just like the house alarm, but it didn't deter them. After much effort, they finally managed to load the safe. After hearing a noise in a neighbor's house, this man discovered 3 thieves had broken into a home in Beverly Hills and stole an entire safe. To get it to their car, they had to dismantle part of the fence. The thieves made a lot of noise, just like the house alarm, but it...
So you guys get the idea. I mean, the bottom line is that Communist-fornia is basically fallen. It reminds me of the stories that you read about Rome, right? Where they let the Goths, the Ostrogoths, and the Visigoths, and they tried to make deals with them. So they, don't offend them because they might get violent, right? So rather than offend them, let's flood them into our country and then risk the opportunity that maybe one of our citizens might offend them so they can go ahead and create a revolution, just like they're doing in the United Kingdom. And so that's the big issue that we have. So let's get off of the politics and get into more politics. Let's listen to this. This is unbelievable what's been going on in this country, guys.
All new at 4, a former Kansas police chief who led a raid last year on a small town newspaper, now facing charges himself. Former Marion Police Chief Gideon Cody is accused of persuading a potential witness in an investigation into his conduct of withholding information from authorities. Single charge alleges Cody's actions occurred on the day of the raid of the Marion County Record. Cody justified the raid by saying he had evidence the newspaper, the publisher, and one of its reporters had committed identity theft or other computer crimes, and verifying the authenticity of a copy of a business owner's state driving record. A report released by prosecutors, though, concluded that no crime was committed and that Cody reached an erroneous conclusion about their conduct because of poor investigations.
And so I had one of my buddies reach out to me, and he sent me this, and he was like, Mike, why are you pushing this narrative that we need to have sheriffs as opposed to regular police? Because the Shire of the Reef is elected by the local citizenry, and the Shire of the Reef is expected not to engage in this kind of behavior. And all I can tell you guys is this, that modernly our kids go through a education system that was imported to this country by the Rockefeller family. Our modern public education system is based on the Prussian education system. A lot of you guys don't even know what Prussia is, but Danzig, which is now called Warsaw, is a place that was in modern day Poland, and that was actually part of Germany. It's one of the reasons why Hitler went to war, because the Versailles Treaty stripped the Germans of Danzig. But prior to that, Danzig and that whole area was Prussia. Originally, Germany was a bunch of basically city-states. They all spoke German, but, you know, a little bit different tongue. You have Hochdeutsch and you have different types of German language. I took German, and I have a lot of friends who are German, so I understand it. And I'm also a Scandinavian, so I speak a little bit of Swedish and Norwegian. So I kind of understand the Nordic tongue, right? But the bottom line is that when Napoleon invaded and tried to take over Europe, Eastern Europe, the Prussians went after him. I think you say Prussian if you say it properly, but the Prussians went after him. They didn't like him. And but Napoleon had him. It's hard to believe because most people have a hard time believing that the French are anything but people who retreat. But that's also bullshit. The French were a very brave nation, and they were abandoned and sort of not given what they needed by the British government, even though they were allies. So it's kind of a lie. They were actually pretty brave, and it's kind of sad the way they were destroyed by the press of that day and modernly. But the bottom line is that the Prussians, the King of Prussia said, "Never again do I ever want to suffer a defeat like this. So what I want you to do is create a public education system." And so the King of Prussia, because he didn't want to lose wars, he wanted to be able to brainwash his people to support the government, to support the politicians who were in power, him, the king. And so the Rockefellers were like, whoa, this is amazing. What a great way to brainwash people, because we're billionaires. We want to control society, and we can't control society with educated people. Because we want a nation of workers, because back then they didn't have tech. They just, it was all about industry, being the captains of industry, right? It was all about industry and having basically slaves, but, not really, because you got to pay them, but same thing. And they didn't like it. And that Americans had their own like little schoolhouses that were not government run. And we taught classic education. Classical education was the order of the day. We didn't need a public school system because parents in that day spoke between 5 to 6 different languages. They read their Bibles almost daily. They spoke Latin and Greek. Even uneducated people in the United States, well, in the Americas at that time, were highly educated, at least compared to what we have today. I mean, now they don't even want you to learn cursive. And of course, cursive is where all of our founding documents come from. They're all written in cursive. So now you have to rely on one of their interpreters to rewrite your history. And of course, we know their interpreters probably are going to work for Google or for Gavin Newsom. So automatically you're not going to get the truth unless you have the tools to be able to go back and find it. So what's going on right now is we have uneducated chiefs of police and sheriffs and whatnot who have basically been told their whole lives that anyone who disagrees with the government is a racist, bigot, and a homophobe, and that gives you open season on them to do whatever you want. And so now let's go ahead and watch what's going on with this guy, and let's see what happened with this. This is a case. Hold on a minute, man. This is hilarious. I just keep on finding more and more cool stuff as I get through this. So we just watched the Kansas dude. Now let's get into Eddie Hall, because I also like to make my people laugh. So Eddie Hall is the strongest man in the world, and he just got pulled over in the world's smallest car. Unacceptable.
I've got the police here as well. This will be a good test, see if the police pull me over or not. I put my indicator on so they don't think I'm doing anything wrong. You knew it. I just knew I was going to get pulled over by the police. I knew it.
Yep. We're going to watch it again.
I've got the police here as well. This will be a good test, see if the police pull me over or not. I put my indicator on so they don't think I'm doing anything wrong.
Love it. Freaking love it.
He knew it. I just knew I was going to get pulled over by the police. I knew it.
Funny that, isn't it? What's this video? Is this going to be another video?
It is, yeah. So we just bought this today to do some stupid content. Getting pulled by the police is purple.
No. They just asked me if I'm taxing insured. I am. Honestly.
Dude, yeah,
I've got the police.
Hey, do you think those guys want to have anything to do with him? So the cops over there don't have firearms or weapons or anything. So I think they have a hard time taking him down. He's like the world's strongest man, right? So guys, I don't really have like tons and tons of time today to spend with you all. I didn't even want to go live tonight, but I'm having kind of a fight with my wife because she's like, you're not making any money off these YouTubes. Stop doing them. You should be working instead and supporting the family. And I'm like, you have no idea how miserable I am working 18 hours a day. I'm still a patriot and I still have that Marine mentality. And I have all these friends now that I've met on YouTube who also have the same mentality. And I want my kids to understand, I don't want you to be a cog in the wheel. I want you to be patriots and love your country and love your fellow and love your neighbors. And if they do things that you don't like, it doesn't mean that you hate them. It means that you try and educate them and lead by example. And so I'm trying to lead by example for all those people who are terrified of the state. They're going to lose their business. They're going to lose their job. You know what? I don't care. If you want to fire me or you want to not have me around because I'm a defined, honorable person, you can go fuck off. Because I believe in freedom, mercy, and liberty. And if you don't believe in that, then I probably shouldn't be with you. Thank you, Chevy. I do appreciate that. Chevy just threw me a $10 super chat. I'll be honest with you guys. To somebody like a Chevy, and I don't know his financial situation, but to somebody like a Chevy, $10 could be worth $1 million to someone like me. And so I don't even care if it's $1. The fact that you're trying to help out to keep me going, I do appreciate that. It means a lot to me. I never expected that my friend Chili would get locked up, and that would be the impetus. That would be what led me into trying to help save this country and help save the world. But the bottom line is, guys, is liberty and freedom are what made America a great place. And our founding fathers basically, and a lot of them were not good people. I'm sure that's by today's standards. I get it. But you can't sit there and attack them and assassinate them because hermeneutically, they were good people. You need to learn about hermeneutics so you understand that the standards that you live by today are an evolution of where we came from. So, I mean, honestly, modernly, right now, the people in the United Kingdom, well, King Richard fought against the Islamic invasion of Europe, and he prevented them from raping and pillaging all of Europe. And now modernly, if a modern British person talks about that, they'll be arrested. They could be jailed for like 20 months or more, because they have this new hate speech law that you're not allowed to say anything bad about all of these invaders that they invited into their country that are raping and killing and causing problems with the local populace. You're not allowed to say anything about it. So obviously that makes me very, very concerned because I got kids and I don't want my daughter wearing a hefty bag and covering herself up. And I don't want my son to be abusive towards women and make a woman wear a hefty bag. That's totally against everything that I was brought up to believe in. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree that women shouldn't be covering their bodies with hefty bags, terrified of men who are, trying to take over their country. Give me a bunch of ones if you believe that. And now, you guys got an opportunity to see Eddie Hall. You got an opportunity to see what's going on over there. You got an opportunity to see what's happening in the United States. And then you can, and one of the ways that you can really tell if you're effective is the trolls, So we know that a certain political party pays an enormous amount of money to influencers to come and try to troll your channel. So this will be really interesting to see how this goes, because the more I get on the money and the more I talk about reality and what's happening, you're being replaced. You are. Your government is doing that. The more trolls that we get on the channel. So age go, Brick Jonesy, good seeing you, brother. And then Wanda Misi, I understand that too, what you're saying. Yes, you're right. And I appreciate that too, Brick. And by the way, once I do get my by the way, so I'll do it again. So just so Let's OTVO knows, this is a mock-up book. All right. This is not like a hard copy of this. They're blank pages. All right. But my ebook is available. And I became a lawyer on the law study program. And I teach people how to become a lawyer with no law school, so you don't have to get brainwashed by the government-run academic system to hate your country, right? Because that's what most of my friends are telling me. They send their sons or daughters to a public school or college. They come out, 100,000 or more in debt and hating America with like purple or blue hair, waving Palestinian flags. And they're trying to figure out what the hell happened to our kids. Like, I served in the Army, or I served in the Navy, and we love America. We sent our kids off to a college for 4 years, and now my daughter chopped her boobs off. My son wants to have his penis chopped off, and they think they're a different sex, and they hate America, and they think that we're oppressors and evil, and that they want to commit suicide because they're white. And I'm like, what the hell is going on with our country? This is absolutely insane. What the hell is happening? So, right. So Let's OTVO says I should make my book in Braille. And you might as well have a book in Braille, because if you're a UK citizen, right, if you're a native of the UK, like, your forefathers come from the Danelaw, or the original citizens of the United Kingdom, the visitors that they're inviting, one of the punishments that they like to give to the locals is to poke their eyes out with Sheffield steel. So think about that. Remember this, that it's illegal in the United Kingdom to report about the crimes of violence by the scumbags that their government invited in. So you can't even talk about the attacks against the children, the women, or any of that stuff, because you risk going to prison. So, and that's why I'm so absolutely incensed, because I used to live in Scotland, and I have friends in Ireland, in Belfast, as well as in Southern Ireland, the true Ireland that wasn't conquered by William the Earl of Orange and the English bastards, as they say in Scotland, man. So I'm just letting you guys know that I'm not a typical Yank. I know the real history of the United Kingdom. I know the real history of the Britons. And I also have some Scottish blood running through these veins. And I am absolutely blown away. It feels as though the King of England is the true Black Campbell, and that the royals have sold their country out to people who are hostile to King Richard. The Windsors destroyed that country. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree, if you're a Brit and understand my semantics. Now, Justin Knighton blames everything on emo music. I don't know about that, Justin, but I'm glad that you're here. I love the last name Knighton, because that is a very traditional British English name, which means that you come from a family of knights, which means that your family at some point or another paid the knight's fee. So that tells me that you probably are a proud descendant of the original English who actually fought to defend your island against foreign invaders. I don't know, maybe not, but let me know, Justin. Great name, by the way. I love that name, Knighton. Very cool. Now, Datsun Lamb Chop says, remember the Byzantine attacks against the Latins. Emperor Alexios allowed tens of thousands to move into the city to facilitate trade with Venice. They had all extra privileges. And that's exactly what's going on right now. We're literally allowing people who hate us and our culture to come and take over our country because they may have like oil money or something like that. But they go against everything that we stand for. And that's why Thomas Aquinas and Sir William Blackstone were proponents of only allowing representatives in power who know the law and mean to keep it well. For example, I've had great successes in my life. I've made millions of dollars. I've lost millions of dollars. but my heart is still with Jesus. My heart is still an honorable, God-fearing American. And I will sacrifice everything that I have and sleep on park benches if I have to, because that's where I came from, in order to make sure that my offspring, my wife, are provided for. And what you're seeing is these politicians, these scumbags, they basically marry up, and then they use their wives as leapfrogs to hop on to the next opportunity. And then ultimately they'll run into some guy like the Epstein Island, right? A billionaire financier, right? Mossad connected, or FBI, CIA, same thing. And they'll use those connections because, oh, I met this billionaire. Oh my God, he's so amazing. They'll bow down to him. They'll go and, bang all of his little kids, and they'll get filmed doing it. Now he has slaves. He has people in government and in high influence positions of power to push his pedophilia and his satanic thing that he wants to push. And that's precisely exactly what has happened in the United States. And you'll see that the FBI, by the way, a lot of FBI agents and high up members and CIA guys were going to Epstein Island on a regular basis. And we know that he had at least 600 pinhole cameras throughout that whole mansion. And so he filmed all these guys banging little kids. It's interesting that the FBI lost all the tapes. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that that's interesting. To me, it's just a continuum of Hoover and the blackmail that he had against all the politicians, including the Kennedy family, to be frank. And that's how he was able to stay in power for, was it like 50 years? Think about that. So if you want to have people in positions of power as your leaders, you need to make sure they have moral values. And if you're electing people like this guy in Arizona, Menendez, who was taking like gold bars from the cartels, and we know that Arizona basically is bought and paid for by the Mexican drug cartels. I don't think anybody can seriously deny that they're not. I mean, the current governor didn't even campaign because she knew she already won, right? So think about that. That's what's going on in the country, guys. Think about all that stuff. And that's right. So Wanda Mise says, whose secrets are in the hands of those who were involved. That's absolutely correct. And Let's OTVO, I just want you to know, brother, I'll send you a free version of my digital ebook. You just got to reach out to me, brother. And, once we get, some actual soft cover versions of this thing, I'll get them out to you. But right now, what I'm trying to do is recruit people to try to become lawyers. I believe the further you stay away from the military, academic, industrial complex, the more intelligent that you'll be. You don't have to go to some far left communist run public school or college campus to become a lawyer. You can study under someone like me. You can study under, someone who has a value system other than just money and power, who really just cares about America and their people, our people. And there's a way to do it without having to go to get a law degree. Remember, law schools originally were established, at least in the South, to make sure blacks couldn't get a law license. And I'll be honest with you guys, modernly, patriots are the new black people. People who love their country, people who support God and Christianity and freedom and liberty and all that. We're treated now worse than the blacks were treated back 600 years ago. Look at what's happening in the UK. If you're a street preacher and a Christian, you immediately get arrested. But if you're part of the invaders that their government invited into their country, they get to take over all the streets and do prayer and block all the traffic, kind of like what the commies did today in California when they blocked the 405 freeway. Here, let me show you a video of that really quick. It's pretty hilarious. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Do I still got comms, guys? Give me some comms. Now, Animal Orgy says this guy is a member of NAMBLA. So NAMBLA is the North American Man-Boy Love Association. And basically NAMBLA is actually the California Democrat Party reconstituted. That would be Wiener and Newsom and the entire California public education system. That is now the Man-Boy Love Association, because they absolutely teach exactly what NAMBLA taught. But now it's accepted. And if you disagree, you're automatically a racist, bigot, homophobe. Remember those three terms, because that's what you are if you disagree with the radicals in their eyes. So I don't know if you guys saw that, though. There was a lot of stuff going on. The 405 freeway got shut down today by the commies. So I'm going to go ahead and do a search really quick. 405 freeway shut down. And let's see what they pull up for us. Because typically when you do a search like that, like if you type 405 freeway, I'm going to do it right now. 405 freeway shut down by commies. Let's see what it says. Oh, it actually gave me a result. That's pretty wild, right? Because typically they'll bury it and pretend like it didn't happen because it was one of their party members who did it, right? So we'll go ahead and throw that up here really quick for y'all. And here we go. Let's do it.
You see traffic.
You guys ready? Here we go.
On here, you see traffic flowing smoothly in the other direction, but I'm sure that looky-loo traffic then also gets to slowing things down as well. Look how far the traffic is backed up there, northbound on the 405 freeway, going way back. If you know anybody who's about to hit the roads, going to jump on the freeway, perhaps to drive home after work, perhaps you give them a call. You let them know of this backup here and let them know perhaps to stay off the 405 northbound there. It's right around Sherman Way and Van Nuys. So as we take a closer look there, you can see law enforcement there looking for something. What that dog is sniffing for, not sure, but we'll keep an eye on this here. Fox 11 News on in about 30 minutes at 5 o'clock. We'll bring you the update if we need to. Thanks for watching.
Well, that was kind of interesting because basically what you're capturing.
Good morning, and the investigation still causing a mess here on the 405 northbound lanes. We were in the process of setting up right next to the investigation, and the CHP cleared several media crews so they can continue to look for evidence on some of those lanes. Now, this is being investigated as a shooting. We're on the Burbank overpass. Let's go to some video here. It was around 5 o'clock this morning. Officers responded to the scene here on the 405 freeway with initial reports of a bullet hole in the vehicle near the hood of that silver sedan. It was first reported as a solo vehicle crash on the northbound lanes near the Burbank Boulevard off-ramp with the car hitting the center median there. Officers found a motorist suffering a head injury. He was transported to the hospital in critical condition, we've learned, and at this point there's no suspect description and no additional information on the victim. Coming back out here to our shot from the Burbank overpass, you can see two lanes. The far right two lanes are open, letting traffic through slowly. If you get onto the northbound 405 freeway, north of Burbank, you're...
Well, obviously that wasn't the one that I wanted to show you guys, but I had to make a quick head call, so I had to buy myself some time. But the entire 405 freeway was shut down today because a bunch of climate activists or whatever, George Soros volunteers, went ahead and decided that they didn't want to let people travel on the freeway. And so I just wanted to ask you guys, because I'm always about trying to figure out what's going on out there. Do you think that give me a bunch of ones if you think that it's okay for people to block traffic because they support Muslims, for example? Do you think it's okay for religious zealots to block traffic, pray in the street, or block traffic to somehow prove to you that their religion's better or that white people are evil? Give me a bunch of ones if you agree that people should be able to shut down traffic at whim. And then give me a bunch of twos if you think that they're evil communist pieces of shit. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the video for you. Give me 1 second. This is the real video. By the way, forgive me, guys. I really had to make a head call. I really had to do it. It was a problem. And so I played an old video of some shooting on the freeway, but it's the same crap, you know. In California, if you try to defend yourself with a firearm against someone who's trying to shoot you on the freeway, you'll go to jail because it's evil to try and defend yourself, right? Because we know that life is meaningless to certain people, right? If you don't believe the life of a baby is valuable, Why would the life of an adult be valuable? Think about that. So let's go ahead and let's look at the Gaza Strip protesters. By the way, this is really interesting to me because we saw the video. And by the way, I've told you guys before, I am biased. I have a lot of Jewish friends, and I became a lawyer because a very good man let me study law under him, who also happened to be Jewish. And he's also a multi-billionaire attorney. And I've never even given him one case, because most lawyers, they want to hire you or do business with you because they think that there's something in it for them, right? This guy, I've never given him anything. And he always takes my calls. And I just have a real hard time with people treating Jews bad. I'm sorry, guys. I just do. I don't like it when people mistreat people. On the other hand, I don't like it when dudes come into my country wanting to sport their beards and wearing all their freaking weird Middle Eastern clothes and trying to force their culture on my culture. That's one thing I noticed even when I lived in Europe. The Jewish people didn't come in trying to wear their weird hats and all that. They just act like normal people. But you see what's going on right now. Check this out. This is wild. By the way, that is the California Highway Patrol. And under Pete Wilson eliminated the California State Police and gave the CHP state police duties. But what you see here is you've got a bunch of protesters blocking the freeway to prevent traffic because they hate Jews, basically. And so that's the problem with the Democrat Party is now you have about half the party that hates Jews, just like Adolf Hitler, like hate, right? Muslims. We know the PLO loved Hitler, right? Palestine Liberation. Modernly, the PLO still does the Hitler salute. That's all part of their deal. So we kind of understand that, what's going on, right? You've got like the Democrat Party is being torn apart. You've got part of it is controlled by Ilhan Omar and anti-American communist Arabs, whatever. And then the other half is more the traditional old school Democrats that would have supported Kennedy. Modernly, they would be called radical right-wing Christians. That's what they would call us modernly. But just keep watching. This is unbelievable to me, what's going on in California. And of course, they'd be from Venice, where they poop all over the sidewalks and piss everywhere, because we know that the city of Santa Monica do-gooders, the rent control community, has decided to give homeless people free everything for a month in their homeless centers. So what happens is when they kick them out, they all go and piss and shit all over Venice, Redondo Beach, where I used to live, and all over the place, downtown LA. There's piss and shit everywhere till Santa Monica invites them back for free things again for another month. And that has been, and of course, we know the city of LA, the county and the city politicians love using homeless people because they'll sign their signature with an X, and all they have to do is give them a cigarette, and they can send them around to 5 or 6 different hotels and other areas to register them to vote. So they'll get 5 or 6 votes per homeless person because they signed with an X. And we know that that's happening. We know absolutely that's what's going on. It just won't be reported on the press because the press supports exactly what they're doing. Let's keep watching. So let me ask you guys a question. You guys know that California is a single party state, right? We know all those people are trying to get to work so they can pay their 18% taxes to Gavin Newsom that he can squander, maybe cheat on his wife a little bit with that. Do you think that any of these people actually support what Newsom and all of his communist friends are doing? Or do you think that voting machines and the people who count the votes that are all partisan political activists, do you think those are the reasons why guys like Gavin Newsom keeps winning elections? Keep watching, because I can't imagine how any of these people that are stuck in traffic here would vote for the same party that supports this bullshit. So I'm going to share something with you guys. So when I was growing up, my buddies and I would have cleared that road within 3 seconds. Even if we were a quarter mile away, we would have been down there. We would have cleared all those fools off the road. That, you got to understand something. These communist pieces of shit that block these roads, they're blocking ambulances. They're blocking women who are pregnant, who are breaking water. Also, they can support some bullshit false narrative that somehow Israel's bad and that all the people that went into Israel to kill their women and children, like they're trying to do in the United Kingdom, are good. And do you honestly think that if Queers for Palestine went to Palestine, that they would live more than a few seconds? They drop guys like that off of buildings. Like, what? How is it that these so-called educated kids that go to colleges, how is it that they believe that Palestine supports any of the stuff that they support? They don't. And when you look at the interviews in the UK, when they talk about all the liberals and stuff, they're like, oh yeah, these people are stupid, but it's okay. They're going to make it possible for us to have a Sharia law country. And it's like, really? Do you guys really want to live under a country that's despotic, like under Adolf Hitler? Remember, Adolf Hitler praised that religion more than any other religion. He even set up the SS Handschar, Handschar. So the Nazi SS, the Schutzstaffel, had a Muslim SS unit, and they were the most violent and terroristic of all the SS units, which is hard to believe, even worse than the SSVT that went in behind the Wehrmacht during World War II in Poland to kill all the Jews. They're worse than that. The SS Handschar were part of the Grand Mufti in Palestine, and their goal was to kill every Jew on the planet, just like Hitler. And now we see it's happening in real time in the United Kingdom. They want the same thing, and I'm still trying to understand, how did this happen, guys? Somebody help me understand, please. Let's keep watching. All right, I just got me a shot from the garden in the Scottish Highlands. How you are, mate? It's great, Jimmy. Now, it's been a while since I come from Motherwell, man, but I don't speak the best Glaswegian anymore, mate. But garden, hopefully you'll give me a good scare for my Glaswegian accent, mate. So garden, give me a 1 if I got a good Glaswegian. Give me a 2 if I need to improve it, mate. How you are, man? How you are, garden? That's great, Jimmy. Fuck's sakes, man. It's been a while. Where are you comfy in Scotland, mate? Where are you comfy? Where are you comfy, mate? All right. Well, maybe garden's not. So where are you comfy means where you from. So hopefully garden may not be a true Scot, because I think garden would have known instantly what I meant. But it's great, garden. That at least you love the Scots, man. It's freaking great, Jimmy. Yeah, that's right, James. Militia, full force. People wake up. So I'm just gonna keep playing the commie road stop thing, and then we'll probably close it out. So you guys kind of get the idea. So right over here, You've got a bunch of anti-American communists, aka blue staters, right over here, and they don't believe in the ability of these people to be able to take an ambulance or to be able to get to work, because they want to basically kick all the Jewish people out of their traditional homeland, Israel, which is Hebrew land, and give it back to the people that the Romans gave it to. So remember that the Romans hated the Jews more than anything. Here, let me give you a little history lesson. So the Romans hated the Jews more than anyone because the Jews did not accept the Roman gods. And so what the Romans did is they bought off the Sanhedrin, the Pharisees, and the Sadducees. They basically bought all of their political leaders because they had the money, right? And they put Herod as king. And Herod was not a true Jew. He was actually from another tribe that the Jews had conquered. I can't remember the name specifically, but he was not a true Jew. He was a member of a cult that the Jews despised, but the Romans installed him as their king. And so he not rebuilt, but he built this grandiose temple that did not conform to what the Bible said it needed to be. He rebuilt the Jewish temple, but he rebuilt it as a memorial to himself. And so basically the Romans controlled the Jewish or Hebrew government or the Judean government at that time. But the Jewish tribes, kind of like us, right? Like our government is against us, like the UK government is against its own people because they've been paid off by Arab oil money or the World Economic Forum. But the regular people on the street, they don't approve. They don't like it. They don't like what's going on. That's exactly what happened in ancient Judea. And so what ended up happening is the Romans hated the Jews. So they basically kicked them out and they turned over their country to the Philistines. And it was renamed Palestine, Palestine. But if you look at all the ancient historical ruins, it's all Hebrew. That's why when the Arabs were digging underneath the Temple Mount, they would throw away all of the Jewish history because they don't want the true narrative that it's Israeli Jewish land to exist. They want their own narrative to exist. And we see the same thing happening when the Dems are trying to shut down Twitter and when the leftists in the United Kingdom are trying to shut down Twitter. They want to have their own narrative of what the truth is. They want to have their own historical truth. They don't want it to be based on facts. They want it to be based on politics. And that's what the Romans did. So just so you guys understand. That's exactly right, Tom Shaw. King Herod was an Edomite. He was not Jewish. King Herod was an Edomite. And many would say that Barack Obama wasn't really a true American. He was an anti-American communist. And I know many people who feel that way based upon his policies, not based upon his color or his race, but just based upon his anti-American pro-academia policies. So Tom Shaw, you nailed it 1,000%. Herod was an Edomite, and the Edomites were condemned by God and by the Hebrew Bible as the enemy of the Jews. But somehow the Romans were able to install an Edomite to control Israel. Kind of like what we have right now, right? In the United States, we have people who hate our country in the highest positions of power. And so it's really nice to be able to have you guys in the sidebar, to be able to share this stuff with you. And even you, laddie, even you, Garden, even though you can't speak to me in a Glaswegian accent, mate, I appreciate you coming, mate. It's great, Jimmy. Fuck's sakes, man. So that's right. Wanda Mise says the servants are all shouting us down. And I agree with that. The servants are shouting us down. The public servants, because they've been paid off by this German dude, Klaus Schwab, the son of a Nazi, right? Repackaging Nazism, but this time white people are the enemy. But the problem is, guys, until we resurface classical education and start teaching people to love their country and love their neighbor, this is going to get worse. And so I'm inviting all of you, obviously join my channel whenever you can. But also don't do what they're doing. Don't hate them. Love your enemy. Love them and show them that you're good by your actions, by how you behave. And just show them that you're a good person and that you'll be there for them. And then ultimately, I believe that if you can be a living example, living sacrifice to these people who've been brainwashed by the government and the communist-run public education system, that you will be able to make this a better place. But remember that Lucifer is the prince of this world, and the principalities of power are real. Demons are real, guys. This is no joke. And they want your children. They're coming for your children. Absolutely. And so the only thing that I can do is share with you just to be a good person, be honest, be honorable in all the things that you do, and love your neighbor. And that's all you can do. And if they want to execute you and put you to death, I don't recommend you turn the other cheek. I recommend you fight back. But always remember that you were honorable and that your children remember that you were honorable and to do the right thing. Now, the problem with that is when people do stuff like that, as Let's OTVO just pointed out, when you stand up for your rights, you're going to have Gavin Newsom and his friends from the public school system come and ask you for this.
Where are your papers, Mav? Where are they? Oh, you don't have any papers?
They're going to ask you this.
Where are your papers, Mav? Where are they? Oh, you don't have any papers?
So good, so good. So guys, I don't have a whole lot of time tonight, to be honest. I didn't want to go over an hour, but I just wanted to thank everybody for coming. Let's OTVO, thanks for coming. Wanda Mise, I appreciate you guys supporting me. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm having a little bit of a hard time with the family. The wife does not like it that I'm spending an hour to 2 hours here a night talking to you guys. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep doing this because I'm supposed to be tutoring my son, and like he missed judo last night because she just was too burned out to take him. And, you know, so just understand this has not been an easy experience for me, but I do feel obligated to sort of lead the flock in a way and to sort of give you an education of law and American common law so you know your rights and you can mean to keep them well. And yes. Now, Taylor Roberts says, where are you comfy? Where are you from? So originally, if you're asking me, Taylor, I was born in California in, I think it was like Garden Grove or Orange. And yeah, I'm a native Californian, and that's where I'm from, man. Orange County. It was an amazing place. And when I was growing up, I used to, when I was like 16, I always had an AR-15 in the back of my Mazda B2000 and would go to the Irvine Gun Club. And I had, I didn't have to keep my weapon locked, and I could standard 30-round magazines in there. And I would go to the Irvine Gun Club, and I had Marine Corps primary marksmanship instructors who were retired teach me how to shoot. And I became a rifle expert out of Marine Corps boot camp. And yeah, man, what a cool life. And nowadays, if you have an AR-15, that's considered to be, I guess, like some kind of like an evil thing or whatever, but it's just a standard capacity, you know, center fire, semi-automatic rifle, like every other rifle that we use modernly. It's just that the commies say, oh, it's black and it looks evil, so therefore we need to make it illegal. But back when I was growing up, that was normal. We loved our country. We all believed in the right of self-defense. And we didn't use statistics like people committing suicides and try to say that that was gun violence, because that's what the left does. They say, you know, like gun violence and all that stuff is, you know, they come up with these bullshit numbers. They say that people who committed suicide, they put that in the gun violence figure. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't have a pot to piss on, because the vast majority of the so-called violence is people taking their own lives, which is kind of weird because they support like Justin Trudeau, and, you know, they don't want, you know, they gave you free healthcare, but they always knew that you'd never be able to afford free healthcare because it's not free, right? Because they realized like the 3 or 4% who actually work for a living would have to pay for everyone else's free healthcare. So what ended up happening is now they're pushing suicide and government assisted euthanasia because they don't look. I'll be honest with you. The communists don't think you're valuable if you're over 55. They don't want you around. So if I were you, I would not use ancestry.com. I would not donate my genetic information to anyone, because we do know now that the communist Chinese, as well as their friends at Wuhan and probably the NIH, because they're all buddies, right? They can use your genetic information to create something that they could inject into you that would kill you. And I don't have a lot of confidence in what they're doing when we know that Big Pharma tried to bury all the side effect data for over 75 years. And that was after my mother-in-law died of thrombosis. And of course, we know now that thrombosis is a side effect of that crap they were trying to inject us with, that they tried to hide from us. So remember, everybody, trust people who are honorable. Don't ever trust a politician. Don't ever trust a pharmaceutical company, because they have absolute immunity from being sued. That was given to them by Ronald Reagan. So you can't even sue them if they kill you or your family member, unless an attorney general gets involved and breaches the shield of immunity. And that's exactly what Ken Paxton tried to do. And his own party brought a bunch of false charges against him to try to get him impeached. And they admitted on the stand that they had no evidence that he did anything wrong. Why? Because we were trying to prevent him from piercing the shield of pharma immunity. And that's the reality of what's going on, guys. You guys need to wake the F up, stop listening to CNN and PMSNBC, and start watching my channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. And thank you, Taylor Roberts. I'm assuming you're probably a Brit. I've gained over 1,000 subscribers in the last few days from the United Kingdom. So the United Kingdom wants to push out this narrative that they're all a bunch of weaklings who want to have these invaders with machetes come in and destroy their country. But I used to live in the UK. I'm going to tell you right now, that's a lie. The Irish in particular, as well as the Scots, do not like the foreign invasion that their country is forced upon them. They don't like it that these people that their country is forcing into their country aren't assimilating, and instead they're trying to force Sharia law onto them. And it's getting explosive, guys. All I can tell you is stop watching BBC, which is government news. Stop watching Communist News Network and PMSNBC, and just watch my channel if you want to learn the truth. You're going to learn more from a couple hours with me than you'll learn in 10 years from watching people who hate you and your country. Stop watching them. Remember, they're influenced by advertising money. I'm not. I'm influenced by my wife, who says, stop doing this because nobody's giving you any money. And I'm saying, I don't give a shit. I love America and I love freedom. And here I am. So if I end up sleeping on my buddy's couch in the next couple of weeks, you guys will know why. But in the meantime, I do want to thank everybody for showing up and supporting my channel, especially because we're on a far left communist YouTube. Just imagine if YouTube and their blue-haired moderators weren't trying to shadow ban me all the time. Could you imagine how many followers and subscribers I'd have? It would be millions, because most people do not buy into this nonsense, guys. And that's why they're coming for your children, because they know that they can groom children and brainwash them. You put a blue-haired academic around your kids for 8 hours a day, 365 or whatever it is, year-round schools in California, and you're going to lose your kids. I recommend that you homeschool, homestead, and that you form parallel systems with people who have similar values as you. Do not participate in the Bud Light economy, because that is not who you are. If you don't like what Target's doing, stop shopping at Target. Stop being lazy. Spend an extra 50 cents to buy something from James or Chad Crumb or Let's OTVO or Taylor Roberts or Chevy or Seldwin or Wanda Mise or Andres Cardenas. I mean, all these people in my channel, a lot of these guys have businesses. They have like Shy S. They have businesses, they have families, they have kids, and they think just like me. But yet we have been brainwashed by the leftist news media and by people that hate us into thinking that we're the minority. We're not the minority, guys. The minority is Zuck and the guys who run Google, Page. They're the minority. That's why he sold Google. He knew what was coming. He sold all of his investments in Google because he saw what was coming. And yeah, they were able to almost take out the guy that had the best chance at restoring the country back to a semi-constitutional republic, but they didn't succeed. But look, then his plane almost went down a few days later. Eventually he's going to get taken out by these guys. So the only chance you guys have is to wake the F up and start thinking like a traditional natural law theorist. Your rights come from an all-powerful creator. They don't come from the state. Stop thinking that way. Your rights come from an all-powerful creator, the universe, not from some freaking scumbag politician. So stop letting them have that power, guys. Your rights come from the universe, not from Gavin Newsom. So remember that. And when Gavin Newsom comes along and asks you questions like this,
where are your papers, Mav? Where are they? Oh, you don't have any papers?
Or he asks you where your vaccine card is, you can tell him exactly where to go. Because we don't need to inject ourselves with experimental drugs. We don't need to inject our brains with the academic industrial complex communism, Che Guevara t-shirt nonsense that they're forcing on our kids. We don't need to do that. We can be free and we can love our country and we can love one another. So I honestly didn't want to get too political tonight, but I don't even really think I'm being political. I mean, honestly, I'm not Republican. I'm no longer a Democrat. I would consider myself to be a civil libertarian who wants freedom. But honestly, guys, the Democratic Party left me. I didn't leave them. I can't imagine anybody who's Jewish ever voting Democrat after what's just happened in the last few years. It's just blowing my mind. But if you do, I have a lot of great psychiatrists I can refer you to, and they have great drugs. But with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. And like Let's OTVO says, learn, know, and exercise your rights while you still have them. And that's absolutely right. And Let's OTVO, I got to tell you, when I first met this dude, I was going to see Chili DeCastro in court because they're getting ready to throw him in the dungeon again. And I saw this dude and I know this face, but man, I was like, what the hell? I mean, the dude's got to be like 10 feet freaking tall, guys. Man. And so the first thing he says to me, I thought you were a lot taller. Sorry, Betty. That's my experience with Let's OTVO. And I appreciate it, James. And with a name like James, that tells me King James. That tells me the true king, not the Windsors, not the Germans who took over Britain and destroyed your country. So thank you so much for that. And I guess I don't really have a whole much more to say, Chad Crumb, other than good story. But everybody, Semper Fi, do or die. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. Make sure to share this with your friends. And then also, guys, pick up a copy of my book. It's like $20. Go to the homepage of my YouTube channel. It's like $20. It's on PayPal. I think I owe like at least one person a book. Don't cancel your sale, guys. I'll make sure it goes through. I've just been absolutely buried. I have a couple of cases that I'm preparing for trial right now, so I haven't had a whole lot of time. But I do miss you guys, and I really appreciate you hanging out with me. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel.